I'll try. Let's see. Hey guys, I'm Andrew, lead sales at Efficient Frontier. We're a market maker in the space. We've been trading for 7 years now in crypto, and I've been at this company now for 5.5. There's a lot of misconceptions about market making in crypto, and I apologize in advance. I've been sick for 2 weeks now, so if you hear a cough, that's that. But there's a lot of misconceptions about what market making is. People think number go up, number go win moon, 5 rocket emojis. Like if you look at any Discord or Telegram of a retail community and they mention the word market making, all you see is sort of hype, but there's sort of a reality to it. So what is market making in a nutshell? Basically, what a real market maker is doing, and we can go into what fake market making is, but what a real market maker is doing is providing two-sided liquidity so that at any given time, if a buyer or a seller wants to buy or sell, he is able to do so in a let's say a reasonable amount of size. The problem in crypto, which is similar to penny stocks back in the day for anyone who is maybe from finance, maybe not, is that most altcoins in of themselves are illiquid. Like organically, they are not liquid assets, meaning that, Joe Schmoke or like Catcoin number 1500 on CoinGecko might have $200 plus minus within plus minus 2% on, let's say, MEXC. And so what a market maker does is he comes in and he helps cut the spread and he helps provide depth in the order book so that people are able to trade. So ultimately, when we look at market microstructure, the most important things that any decent trader will look at to know that, okay, is this something I can actually buy or sell, is basically spread, depth, and volume. So I don't know how much you guys know about like the very basics, but basically a healthy market has high depth, tight spreads, and high trading volume. So if you look at Bitcoin, for example, it's a healthy market. Organically, there is billions of dollars of liquidity in the book and volume, and most, let's say, large TradFi instruments or assets are generally liquid markets, but most altcoins are not. So a spread is basically the gap between the highest price a buyer is willing to pay and the lowest price a seller is willing to accept, which ultimately, and I'll show you in a second, is this gap here. So you see that this left side is an unhealthy order book, and you can see there's a 4% spread in this theoretical example. Meaning that even just to have a let's say $1,000 order, I already lose 2% immediately, and also I know that when I get out of my position, I'm going to lose 2% as well. And not only that, if I want to put, let's say, tens of thousands, there's no way I can buy this asset on the open market. The only way you would be able to buy the asset would be like an OTC deal. And so if you look also, we go back to depth. And so depth is the amount of buys and sells orders at different prices in the order book. So you can see here in this unhealthy market that there's really not a lot of depth. Like if you look at within plus 2%, there's 1,800. Within plus 4%, there's 2,700. So if I want to put a $10,000 order, I actually blew up the entire order book. I had like a 10% slippage in that one trade. So the whole point of designated market making is to avoid having significant slippage and to basically create an order book where it's actually possible to trade. So, and going back to basically, number go up, I mean, there's a lot of ideas that the market makers are somehow moving the price and that we are the ones somehow making the price move and controlling the price. But that's if you're actually market making, that's generally a misconception. The whole point is that you're facilitating liquidity so that traders can trade, but you're not actually the one doing the taking the vast majority of the time. And then finally volume. But volume, and there was a big case last month, which some of you may have seen, where there were some market makers who are being right now prosecuted by the government for wash trading, for manipulating markets. And so people think that, oh, market makers create volume, but that's not really true. Market makers provide liquidity, which if there's demand for this asset or instrument, then results in volume because people are taking from our orders. But market makers, if you're actually market making, are not the ones curating volume. We're just facilitating the ability for people to trade, which results in volume. So volume is a byproduct of market making, but it is not created by the market maker. And so the problem, I think, in this industry is that people, well, first of all, there's a lot of, I'm going to be very blunt, a lot of nonsense and a lot of people engaging in nonsense. And a lot of people want to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. And the easiest way of making a lot of money in a short amount of time is to not play fair, but rather to play unfair. And to do things like wash trading to create this mirage of a market, trap retail, get people into a FOMO effect, do a pump and dump. But these are all illegal things in TradFi. And I think eventually, and we see it now with the last month, that these sort of practices will start to be regulated away. And so what is then like the actual, let's say, market making models in the space? There's generally two models that people operate under in crypto. One is called a loan and option. The other is basically a retainer. The retainer is easier to explain because a pure retainer where the trading P&L is on the client allows for the client to basically ask for any sort of KPI. And going back to the idea of, okay, what is the actual KPIs? Like, if I'm a project, what am I actually looking for from a market maker? Now, if you're a scammer, we talked about that just now, but if you're a real project, what you're looking for from a market maker is for him to tighten spreads, to put depth in the order book, and to have high uptime on that. The question is, then becomes an issue of incentives. How do I incentivize my market maker to do it in a way where he doesn't crush me or crush my community, and does it, let's say, in a fair manner? When you have a pure retainer where the trading P&L is on you as the client, or let's say on the project side, the client can ask for anything. So it ends up being like SaaS, or some people call it market making as a service, because basically you're the one eating the loss. Now the pro of that is you can ask for anything. If you want $5,000 in the order book, you can have that. If you want $50,000 in the order book, you can theoretically have $200,000 in the order book if you want. But the problem of that is you are the one eating the P&L, because when there's a moment of volatility, if you have a lot of size in the book and the market is volatile and you get run over, that is your loss when you have that level of volatility. And that sort of in contrast to the loan option, where, and this is the predominant model in this space, if you ask almost any big brand, and I'm literally taking, I'm sorry, the slides don't look very beautiful, but the tables themselves are actually literally coming out of, I mean, I've erased the numbers, but are coming out of our actual sales deck. So you can see that basically this is the predominant model in crypto these days, where projects will give their market maker, let's say $1 million or 3% of their supply or 1.5% of their supply, and he gives him an option, or really these days a series of options, to buy his token. And then the market maker has a mandate to provide KPIs with this loan and option. Now the problem of, so in theory, the way the typical market maker explains it is, look, I'm incentivized with you for the long run. So if you go up, then I win and you win and it's kumbaya. And if you go down, then I don't make much money, and then we're incentives aligned. And that's the theory. The reality is really quite more nuanced than that. Now the pros of the loan option and why many altcoins go for this model is first because of this idea you can see that, if we're interest aligned, which we can get into in a second. But there's also this idea of, I don't have to bring USDT if I'm a project with the loan and option. Now the reality of the loan and option, which I didn't put into this because it's a bit too nuanced to put in the slide, is that the loan option ends up being an option straddle, because you give the market maker a call option or a series of calls, but the market maker will sell X% of the loan that is at or near the money in order to basically do two things: to have USDT to trade for the long run and to hedge off his position. Meaning that this kumbaya narrative of if you win, then I win, and if you lose, then I lose, actually is a false narrative. And I'm actually meant to be hedged off at any given time. Now, if you don't hedge properly or things go south, things can go bad. And that's why after we've seen this become the standard model, you see so many projects who are unhappy with the market maker. Because if things go south, there's not enough volume, or the price goes south, and the market maker isn't able to hedge off his position, or he's way too far out of the money with his strikes, then you only have two ways of making money. You can be malicious and dump and then try to buy back the tokens, or you can do nothing and say, I'm going to stop providing the KPIs, or to the extent that I can, and then that's basically it. And that's why you have so many projects that have been basically screwed by the market maker, and they don't understand what happened, but basically what happened is your price went down or you didn't have enough volume during your launch. The market maker couldn't sell, and now you don't really have a market maker. You have a guy you gave 3% of your supply away to, and he's holding it as a lottery ticket in the hopes that you go up. But if you don't go up, too bad, so sad. That's the reality of the situation. And so it is great for projects where you know if you're existing, you already have volume. Let's say it's not too much of a supply to have a decent KPI. Or if you're a mid-cap, but you're pretty confident that you're going to have some kind of demand for the asset. But if you don't feel like you're going to have demand for the asset, well, first of all, you shouldn't even list their token. Don't even think about listing. But especially even if you do decide to list early without, let's say, knowing you'll have demand, you should not go for this model. Even though, I'm saying this as a market maker, and I might actually make more money off of the model, but the reality is you will just get nothing out of the market maker. And then there's other names in the market who I won't mention, but you can, if you're on crypto Twitter, then you may already know the names, who use the model or pretend to use the model, but then really just use it as a way of facilitating a pump and dump to make money. And so there's also the opposite, where you can do a dump and buyback. So I get a loan. I don't know if the price is going to go well. I'm going to smash the token price down 40%. Not because we don't do that, but in theory. And then buyback. And now I have sort of made a spread going down instead of up. And then if you go back up to the strike, then I'll basically make more money going up. But there's really, obviously, a lot of nuance, probably too much for a short talk. But this is the main model. Now, and not to just keep bagging on this model, if you have a decent launch and a market maker that genuinely cares, then if you set yourself up with the right incentive structure, in either model, you can have good KPIs and a good experience. But similarly, if you don't set yourself up in the right structure, which the reality is there's information asymmetry between me as a market maker and you as a project. Because I know more about market making than you do. Meaning that this is, I mean, the reason why, or one of the reasons why market makers make so much money in TradFi and in crypto, because they have an information advantage over their clients. And the clients cannot process what is a good deal, what is a bad deal, what is too good of a deal to be true. And so that's why you have so many horror stories in crypto. And then I think I'll kind of cap off at some misconceptions. Basically, one, is market making always profitable? A lot of people think that market makers are always profitable, but this is not true. Depending on volume, liquidity, volatility, a market maker can stand to make a lot of money, or if his algos are not set up right, or, you know, depending on the circumstances, you might actually stand to lose a lot of money. If you don't, let's say, if the price is moving very, very quickly up or down, and you are not pulling your orders fast enough and readjusting them because you don't have a good enough algo to predict the next second, then you are going to get run over, and potentially then maybe you'll go to jail. And then finally, market makers, some people think market makers have little to no risk. But like we said, if a market maker is